Hey there. Ready for a deep dive into something that's been on a lot of people's minds?
Yeah. What's that?
Well, it's this whole thing about finding lasting love. That will I ever find the one? Anxiety,
Ah, I see. Yeah, a lot of folks definitely wrestle with that one.
right? So we've got this mountain of articles, personal stories, and some research to sift through.
Should be interesting. See what we uncover.
I'm really curious. Where do you even begin with something like this?
It's tricky, right? It's not like there's a single answer.
Definitely not. But I was thinking maybe we could start with social media.
Oh, yeah, good point. It's everywhere.
It's a total double-edged sword. It's awesome for staying connected,
True.
but it's so easy to get sucked into comparing yourself to everyone else, especially when it's just endless engagement announcements and picture-perfect couples.
Totally. Makes you feel like you're the only one not in this blissful romance.
Exactly. Like you're missing out on something everyone else has figured out.
You know, what's funny is social media didn't invent this comparison game.
Really, I feel like it's made it 10 times worse.
For sure, it's amplified it. But even before, people compared themselves to friends or whoever they knew.
I guess so.
Now it's like you're comparing yourself to thousands online, and it's all this curated perfection.
Ugh, that's so true. You're seeing the highlight reel, not the reality show.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
some of the stuff we've been reading suggests this constant comparison.
Yeah,
It can really fuel anxiety.
that makes sense. Even if you're happy with your own life, seeing all that can make you second guess yourself.
It makes you wonder, is something wrong with ME since I haven't found that perfect love? It's like this pressure to fit this ideal, even if it's not what you actually want.
Right. And it's not just social media feeding this, there's the whole societal pressure too. Like there's this timeline you're supposed to follow.
Oh, absolutely. Graduate, get the job, get married, have the kids, all by a certain age.
That timeline, it makes me feel like I'm behind on something.
What we found in the research is it's often linked to those big life events,
Like what?
like weddings, graduations, baby showers. For single people, it kind of highlights that they're not in a couple,
Yeah, you're surrounded by it all. Makes it feel like you're off schedule, as you're saying.
definitely. And even if you're not actively yearning for marriage or kids right now, there's still this fear of ending up alone.
Oh, yeah. Some of these personal stories we're looking at really dig into that worry about loneliness, being uncertain about what the future holds.
It's primal, you
It's
know?
primal.
It really is.
But it's important to realize those feelings. Totally common. Most people deal with that fear of loneliness at some point, no matter what their relationship status is.
So we've got social media comparisons, we've got societal pressures, and then this deep-seated fear of being alone. Sounds pretty bleak.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But here's where it gets really interesting. A lot of these articles talk about how perspectives on love are changing.
Oh, definitely. It's not all doom and gloom.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's this emphasis on personal growth, on being independent, finding fulfillment in things besides traditional relationships. It's like people are questioning the old ways of doing things and figuring out what works for them.
It's like rewriting the script. And it feels like one of the big drivers is that focus on individualism. People figuring themselves out first.
Yeah, self-discovery and all that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're younger, you know,
It makes sense. Before, getting married was seen as the start of adulthood.
for sure.
Now it's one choice out of many. People are taking the time to figure out who they are and what they want.
Exactly. And the economic side of things is part of it too.
How so?
More women are working. They're financially independent. So marriage isn't tied to security the way it used to be.
Ah, so it's more about choice than necessity now.
Exactly. Which brings us to something I've been super curious about, these alternative relationship models.
Oh, yeah. Polyamory, open relationships, chosen families, all these different ways of experiencing love and connection that don't fit the traditional mold.
Exactly. It's like questioning the whole one-size-fits-all approach.
I love that. So what are your thoughts on this trend?
Well, it's fascinating. It challenges the idea that there's only one right way to do relationships. You know,
Absolutely.
for some, it's pushing those boundaries beyond monogamy. For others, it's prioritizing different kinds of intimacy.
Romantic, platonic, familial.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
But hold on. If we're not all aiming for that traditional model anymore, how do we even navigate this new landscape of relationships? It feels like a whole different world.
It definitely is. But even though these alternative models might seem, I don't know, radical to some,
Yeah.
they actually reflect this desire for authenticity,
Mm.
matching your relationship to your values. It's
Yeah.
about taking control. you know?
I love that idea, not just following what society expects.
Exactly. And that kind of makes you think, what are those individual values people are looking for?
Right. Are we totally ditching the old markers of a successful relationship?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of these articles was talking about how that definition of success is changing.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Maybe it's not just about being together for 50 years anymore.
Makes sense.
It's more about how strong the connection is, how much you grow together, whether you're actually happy, however long it lasts, whatever it looks like.
It's like we're not chasing this happily ever after ending anymore. It's more about the journey, you know?
Totally. And all these shifting views, these alternative models, it's honestly making me feel less freaked out about finding the one.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
Like, maybe there isn't one right way to do this whole love and relationship thing.
I think that's a good thing to realize. And it's important to remember, you can be worried about finding lasting love and be perfectly happy being single.
Yeah.
Those two things aren't enemies, you know?
That's true. You don't have to put your life on hold while you wait for love to show up.
Exactly. And some of these stories really show that. People who are killing being single,
Yeah.
traveling, following their passions, amazing friendships,
Yeah.
they've got it all.
Makes you realize you don't need a romantic relationship to be happy.
You really don't.
You know, there was one story that really got to me. It was about someone who found love way later in life.
Oh, wow. Like they'd given up hope.
Pretty much. But then, boom, love just kind of happened.
That's great. Shows you never say never, right? There's no timeline for this stuff.
And sometimes the most unexpected paths lead you to the best places. That's so cool.
It really is.
You know, we always talk about the future of relationships like it's this huge cultural shift, but
Yeah.
what about our own personal experiences? Like, don't our past relationships shape how we feel about finding love?
100%. All that
Anything?
baggage, good and bad, it comes with us.
Totally. Someone who's been hurt might be way more cautious next time.
Makes sense. They're protecting themselves.
But if you've had good relationships, role models,
Yeah.
because maybe you're more hopeful.
Yeah, like you've seen it work. It's possible.
It's like everyone brings their own story to the table, right? Adds another layer to the whole thing.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
It's why self-awareness is so important. Understanding how your past is playing into your present,
Yeah.
you know?
So, given all that, what advice would you give someone who's struggling with this? Like practical steps to deal with that anxiety?
Well, first off, don't beat yourself up for feeling that way. It's normal to be uncertain.
Don't try to pretend it's not there.
Exactly. But don't let it control you either. Remember, you're in the driver's seat here.
I like that. Take charge. What else?
Toss out that timeline everyone keeps talking about. There is no right time to find love. You do you.
So empowering.
And it's easy to get fixated on finding the one, but fulfilling relationships come in all shapes and sizes. Spend time with your friends, family, build your community. It's not all about romance.
That's true. Lots of ways to feel love and connection.
Exactly.
You know, there's one thing we haven't touched on much. Self-love.
Oh, that's huge.
Where does that fit into all this?
The foundation. Doesn't matter if it's a romantic relationship, friendship, anything.
Yeah.
You got to love yourself first.
That makes sense. How do you even start with that?
It's about accepting who you are, even the messy bits. Knowing you deserve love and happiness.
Not looking for someone else to complete you.
Right. When you love yourself, you can set boundaries, make good choices. It changes everything.
So it's not just finding love OUT there.
Nope.
It's about cultivating it within yourself.
Exactly.
This has been so insightful. Like, we started feeling all this anxiety about finding lasting love.
Yeah.
But now we've explored all these possibilities, different perspectives. I'm actually feeling kind of optimistic.
I love that. And what's really exciting is this whole conversation about love is changing all the time.
Right. Like, what does that mean for the future of relationships? What's it going to look like in 10, 20 years?
Who knows? But if these trends keep going, I think relationships will just keep getting more diverse.
More options, huh?
Exactly. Maybe non-traditional models become the norm. Maybe the focus stays on personal growth within relationships.
Or maybe those lines between different relationships, like romantic, platonic, family, maybe they get even blurrier.
It's possible.
So maybe the future isn't about finding the one. Maybe it's about building lots of meaningful connections, different ones for different needs and desires.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's not just one path to love and happiness anymore.
So many possibilities. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope people take away from this?
I'd say embrace the complexity. It's okay to feel anxious. Just don't let it rule your life.
Right.
Explore, challenge those old norms, and most importantly, be kind to yourself. There's no one right way to find love.
Your journey is yours. That's such a great reminder. And for everyone listening, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
What resonated with you? What are your own experiences with love, being single, all of it?
Tell us about it.
Share your stories on social media. Let's keep this conversation going.
And as you think about your own journey, one last thing to consider. If our views on love are changing so fast,
Yeah.
what new opportunities and challenges will that create? Something to keep in mind as we all navigate this ever-changing world of love and connection.